All right, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, welcome to the final stream of 2021. I know we had a lot of fun this year. We did a bit of trolling. We evolved a lot. We talked about a lot of things, but think about it, folks. This is the last one. This is the last one of the year. I mean, of course, we'll be back next year, but before we begin, I think this is comical. I got a kick out of this. So, like I said, I'm at home right now in California, right? I'm at my parents' place. And if you look at kind of my backdrop here, I ordered a Florida flag off of Amazon to kind of just make it sort of look like my old studio a little bit. But as you can tell, it's entirely fake, right? People got confused on the last YouTube video. They're like, "Are you in California or Florida?" It's like, no, it's a green screen, right? But I tried to use this for live streaming. It looks bad. It looks bad because the cropping's like not correct, and I couldn't get the ratio. The flag's not big enough. But it's very funny. It's a very good metaphor for like Southern California and Hollywood, because literally like a fake version. It is a fake Hollywood set version of the actual VinceDao studio in Florida, which is hilarious. But anyways, guys, we'll get sentimental after we do this. Okay, we'll get sentimental. We'll talk about stuff after we do this. But like I said, and like you can tell by the name of this, I figured it would be a very good thing as for the final stream of the year to, like, because we took it earlier in the year. Actually, we did the political compass test like literally right after I graduated from high school, which I think was a good benchmark. And now we're at the end of 2022. I think it'd be a good time to do this again. So anyways, guys, welcome to the stream. All right, let's do this. So we are back here, and we know the story here. Okay, the political compass test. Let me start off by saying, before anyone asks any questions, or it is used against me later, that or even right now, is that this test sucks. Okay, everyone knows that the political compass test is a terrible test. A lot of the questions don't make any sense. A lot of them are vaguely worded. A lot of them are totally non-specific. But we're gonna try to answer them to the best of our ability. Okay, and it is the benchmark. It is the benchmark everyone uses, even though it is not a good test. I personally have error with even the concept of using the political compass to begin with. Like, I think the whole like economic right, if you're being right wing means when you're like free market, and left wing is like when you're not free market. Like, I don't think that scale honestly makes a lot of sense. I think there's a lot of issues with it. It's not really how I would even gauge political ideology to begin with. But it is what it is, right? That's what we're going to use. And so, I guess that's what we're doing. And it'll be a good benchmark. We'll try to talk about the issues as much as possible, and we'll try it with the best of our ability to answer these very like vague and just like not good questions. Okay, so let's do this, and this will show my political evolution now. And maybe like next year, at the same time next year, we'll do it again, and that'll be like the tradition, right? We can always see how things have changed and how I've changed and how the community's changed as well. So I'm talking too much. Let's get started. All right, first question, and then we'll have always the infamous first question. It says, if economic globalization is inevitable, and by the way, let me just say, for everyone else trying to suggest their other tests, it's whatever, okay? It's honestly whatever. They all have issues. Honestly, I've never really found a perfect test. I've taken some better ones than this, but they're all just whatever. I'm just going to use the metric that everyone knows, and we can talk about the issues anyway, okay? Video Maker sends me $5. Thank you very much. He says, I'm just here to stop by today. Pretty busy tonight. Can't watch the full stream. Hope you had a great Christmas, and hope you have a great New Year. You too. You too very much. We love Video Maker. Thank you very much. So let us begin with the very first question. It says, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve the interests of humanity. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. It should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. So let me explain. Like, first of all, this is like, I think, one of the worst questions on this test, because first of all, it assumes that economic globalization is not inevitable. Okay, it's not inevitable. I'm against economic globalization to begin with, so I don't really care, first of all, whether it primarily serves humanity, quote unquote, rather than the interests of transnational corporations. I was looking at this question earlier, and I was going to agree with it, because I was like, I'm not a fan of this like transnational capitalism, quote unquote, right? I'm not a fan of that stuff. But the more I thought of it, the more I realized this, the framing of this question is like inherently just like a cringe left wing framing, because yes, technically everything should serve humanity, quote unquote, but we know what leftists usually mean when they say serve humanity, right? And so the way I would frame it is, I don't think economic globalization should serve humanity, quote unquote, whatever that means. And we know what that means. Like, we know that's usually kind of just a virtue signal for like, wealth redistribution and things like that. I think it should serve the nations, right? That's how I put it. I think it should serve the nations, the nation states of the world, our nation state, right? That's what I would say. So I'm going to put disagree on this question, not because I think that I'm like in favor of it serving the interest of the transnational corporations. We obviously know from this channel we are against those. We believe those are essentially institutions that in many ways work for the global left, this and that, and we're against globalism and all that. But I think the premise of serving humanity, I really thought about this more. I'm like, what do they mean by this? What are they trying to say? And I think what they're trying to say basically is like, something more akin to like worldwide economic charity or economic socialism or something like that, rather than like nationalist economics. And so I don't think it should primarily serve humanity, whatever that means. And we know what that means. No, I would actually say it should serve the nation states of the world. Okay. And so that's why I would say disagree on that question. All right. And it's still not a good question, but I'll put disagree for that reason. Okay, I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. I mean I strongly agree with this, not in the sense that like you'd always support the government whether it's right or wrong. I don't support my government, but kind of in the sense that like no matter what happens, no matter whatever goes down, it's like I'm still an American, right? I'm still American. This is my country. I'm not going to trade it for another one, right? So I would say strongly agree with that. I'd say strongly agree with that. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. I don't even think this one really has to be explained, but yeah, strongly disagree with that. You know, Yes, no, who chooses your country of birth? God chooses your country of birth. Okay, that's just, it's foolish to be, I guess proud of the things that it's foolish to like take vested interest in the things I personally didn't do myself. God put you there. Okay, God, yes, so yeah, maybe you didn't choose it. You know who did? Your creator. So at least consider it. I'm not saying there's like a universal rule on that, but at least consider maybe why God put you in this place. You know what I mean? Not just like, well, I didn't choose that for myself. Well, you know what? There's someone bigger than you who's kind of like running the universe, and maybe consider it, right? Maybe consider that for a second, okay? All right, next question. Geez. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Well, I don't know. The Asians, they are kind of plotting against the other races in many ways. So I don't know. Okay. Well, actually, technically, what does John call it? What would John call me? Technically, I'm Eurohan, right? I'm technically part of the Eurohan master race. Wasianism is inevitable. Well, I don't know. Perhaps. I'm just kidding. Okay, we're just gonna put disagree. Okay, no Fed posting on the live. We're just gonna, we're gonna listen. There are many advantages to the Eurohan master race, but we're gonna disagree with that. All right. Let's see. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. See, again, I don't really understand what these are the questions on the political compass test that I'm like, what does this have to do with like your political views whatsoever? Like, it doesn't really tell you anything. You could be like a communist or a libertarian or like a fascist and like just have a different answer on this, just depending how you personally feel. So I don't understand this question at all. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I mean, like I said, this is, and also I hate the fact that this is an absolutes, because it's like, there are some cases where you feel more to be true, there's other where it's not. I'm going to put like slightly disagree, I guess, because I don't think that's always the case. Like, obviously, I think there's a lot of bad alliances fusionism is one example. Okay. And this is something we always talk about on this channel, but it's true. The alliance of like, kind of political libertarianism and like traditional social conservatism, which was formed by William Buckley, right, Barry Goldwater, these characters, I think in many ways has been a disaster. And we've talked about why, just the fact that, I don't know, we're not liberals. Well, I think in many ways libertarians are liberals, but like we disagree with the left or whatever, and we form this alliance. And I think in many ways it is basically neutered and just erased the actual value and basically the actual purpose of conservatism, and so I think in many ways forming alliances is simply based off a common enemy. Sometimes it's useful, which is why I give a nuance to it. Sometimes it's okay, but in many times it actually basically compromises what you have going. So I'll say, I'll put slightly disagree. There is no slightly disagree option. I don't know. It's not an absolute question. You just never know with that, honestly. But but for that reason, kind of when it comes to my mind, kind of the failed conservative alliance with libertarianism, the failed conservative alliance that I think is going to happen again with, kind of what I always call them, the neocons, right? The new neoconservatives, the new like disaffected liberal suburbanite demographic, which we've talked about before. I think that's going to have problems, right? I think for basically all those reasons, it's better to generally say disagree, at least when it comes to our kind of situation and kind of politics today, Jamaican Pickle says, "Hey Vince, I have 101-degree fever right now with COVID." Well, that's not good. I hope you feel better. I hope you feel better. Um, Military action that defies international law sometimes justified. Strongly agree. International law is fake, so I would say it's yeah, it's that's it. It's international law is fake. There's not much more to it. There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I mean, yeah, I would say strongly agree with that. I don't think there's much more to be said about it. It's just cultural propaganda is a problem. Um, I would say that I think it's also important to understand that information in many ways and entertainment fuse well together, and they're very good for kind of building narratives and building propaganda. Obviously, the fusion that's going on, the information and entertainment that's being fed by our political enemies, is being fed by the left. But I think with that understanding, it's also important to understand that this is kind of how it works, right? It's important to understand that that fusing information and entertainment is a very effective way to spread narratives to the masses, kind of push values on people. And so that's why I think it's very important. And the reason I say I think that's very important to understand is because conservatives, us at least, not the cringe normies, but like real conservatives must understand that and must use that to our own advantage too. You know what I mean? That's just a good way to disseminate values in people with the fusion of both information and entertainment. And so it is imperative on us, if we want to kind of reclaim the country, like we always talk about, if we want to kind of instill our values in the country, we're going to have to do that too. It's just facts and logic alone and like totally like non-values based entertainment. It's not going to do enough. People always come along and say like, I don't like them kneeling in the NFL. I just wish they'd keep the politics out of the sports. And it's like, yeah, I guess to an extent it'd be nice if they did. But I think understanding that, like, yeah, no, they are shoving your politics down every kind of cultural institution. I think it's necessary for conservatives necessarily to like basically do the same, right? And so I guess the few kind of cultures we still do control, whether that's something like country music or like NASCAR racing or stuff like that, like we basically have to do the same, And so I know people come along and say, well, you have all like the F Joe Biden chants at the SEC games and stuff, SEC football games and stuff like that. And people are like, well, how is this any better than kneeling for the national anthem? It's like, well, number one, because we're doing it for a good cause. We're spreading our values instead of their values. And it's like, number two, you may dislike the fact that this is the medium by which things are spread, but it doesn't really matter because this is just how it goes, right? This is how it is. And so I think if you want to be serious about it, you have to understand, okay, well, we have to do the same things too, Like we need like right wing music. We need like right wing symbols entertainment. We need the F Joe Biden chants. Like you need all of those things to build a real conservative counterculture. And it's very funny because they always coin terms like culture war, right? We're fighting the culture war is for our culture. But every time you actually kind of insert yourself in real culture, it's like, whoa. Well, how does that make us any better than the left? It's like, because we're spreading our values in the culture instead of theirs. That's the reason why. Okay, that's the reason why. So, all right, next page. Let's see. Now we're doing the economy. We're talking attitudes here. Okay. People are ultimately more divided by class and nationality. Strongly disagree, right? World War I disproved this. I think just a lot of just things in general disprove this. The whole idea that I think even within even like a nation with ours, I think there are different. Even in our country, like within our nationality, I don't even think class is the biggest divide, the biggest cultural divide that there is. This is just strongly disagree. It's just not true. And I think any honest people on both sides try to do this. You have like the working class populism on the right, and you have, they always call it multiracial working class populism, multi-ethnic, right? Where they try to basically build this coalition of just like, it's not about ethnicity or nationality or race. It's all about class. And maybe ideally you think that's the way it ought to be, but it's just not the way it is. I think you see it on the right. You obviously see it on the left as well. Well, I would say the old left. See, the new left understands that people actually are divided more by things like nationality and ethnicity and whatnot than by class, which is why they've come up with like, it used to just be called critical theory, right? Critical theory. You see, this difference in critical theory, critical race theory. Critical theory is basically critical race theory, right? But but it's without the race part. It's based on class, right? So it's the idea that like society is divided by class, and every kind of disparity we can see in society, whether that's like different life expectancies, different like birth rates or whatever, like all that you see, all the disparities you see can be attributed to the class divide, right? Like rich versus poor, like that, and like that. And so that's critical theory. Critical race theory basically is the same idea, but with race, right? It's like systemic racism is to blame, and that's why you have disparities all across the races. And every disparity you see between Black America, white America, in socioeconomics, everything can be attributed to race, right? That's critical race theory. That's kind of an offshoot of the original Marxist idea of critical theory, right? See, the left now understands this. The left understands now, the modern American left, the modern Western left understands that class is not the biggest divide. They actually understand that it's not. That's why they've shifted from critical theory, the original critical theory, to something like critical race theory. And so I think it's important that the right recognize the same thing as well, right? Because we obviously see just in many ways in society that class actually is not the biggest divide that there is. And so I think it's very, critical theory is like critical race theory without the race. But it is. So you can laugh at it, but is that an untrue description? Yes, my out of context account is going to take that and then just like post that. But anyways, all right, next question. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I strongly agree with this, right? Because if you don't have, sound monetary policy, if you have a country with like runaway inflation, the employment doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's working or who's not working. It doesn't matter if people have jobs if they can't afford anything. And as I think generally speaking, always actually all the time, I think if you don't have a sound currency, you really just can't have anything else in the economy. And so, it's definitely more important than controlling unemployment, right? So strongly agree with that. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of hiccuping here. Okay, because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's the Lolbert's gonna get mad, but that's true. It's absolutely true. The biggest people can come along and try to say that like, well, technically they have an incentive for sustainability because of long-term profit, but it's like even most corporations don't really think in the long run; they think in the short run, and so I think it's obviously true that their greatest incentive is profit as a business, and so of course, you're going to need regulation of externalities. And I think even like a truly Lolbert viewpoint, I think that's also true. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Strongly disagree. The freer the market, the freer the people. This is like 50-50. See, I really want to put neutral on this question because, I think, to an extent, obviously to an extent, like I'm not in favor of command economies. I think that market economies generally do better. It's kind of just the best way to structure an economy. And I think freedom of choice when it comes to like market goods within certain bounds is a good thing, obviously. But at the same time, am I to say that I think our country is freer because of economic globalization? Of course not. I don't think that's true at all. Am I to say that our country is freer because corporations are able to get people addicted to vice, right? Where it's just, where they can sell pornography to people and make everyone into porn addicts and make porn stars out of all of our daughters and this and that. Do I think our country is freer because of that, or do I think our country is slaves to vice because of that? Obviously. So I really don't know whether to even put agree, or I guess I'll put like slightly agree, I guess, because we're kind of talking on this. We're not talking. This is like a general scale, right? This is not like within the right. Now we're measuring. Now, if this were like what type of conservative are you type of test, I probably put disagree. But because it's like full scale, we're comparing ourselves to like full on communists. I guess I'll put slightly agree with that. But like generally, I think it's very like 50-50 for me. It's really there's a lot of nuance to the question that's like not there. But I like I said, I'll put slightly agree just because the test is like comparing us to like full on communists and stuff like that. And so I guess compared to them, I do agree with the statement. But I really am not with the. I don't think this is a true statement, really, even more than like 65% of the time. You know what I mean? So let's see. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. I strongly disagree with that, really. I mean, like why is bottled water necessarily? Now, If it were different good, if it were something like now, if the question were, it's a sad reflection on our society that your body is now a bottled branded consumer product, I put strongly agree. But it's just like, you know water is still a commodity, right? It is something that is scarce, and it's actually probably, it's a good thing that everyone's able to have water at such, like, so accessible. And it's like, it's I strongly disagree with that. I think that's just kind of like a socialist cope, which, I don't mean to say that in a normie way, but in a lot of ways, it is kind of just like a socialist cope. Like, why is that bottle? Why is that branded? Like, that's actually not. Now the plastic they put in, now the chemicals, that's a different story. But it's not really that bad of a thing. Land shouldn't be a commodity bought and sold. Again, strongly this. What are you going to do with the land? People, libertarian Twitter and libertarian TikTok think some type of socialist. I'm not. Of course, like, what are you gonna do with the land? Yes, it should be a commodity, be bought and sold. It's scarce, it has value. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Distribute it? Have the government like distribute it to everyone? That sucks. No, I don't want to live like that. Nobody wants to live like that. And it just doesn't make sense, and it's just gonna cause a lot of problems. Of course, land should be a commodity to be bought and sold. What else are you gonna do with it? I mean, what else are you going to do with it? You can't do anything else with it, really, unless imagine being, see, as someone who honestly nowadays, I'm really thinking more leaning toward, like, wants to live like down south in like a large, like, rural property. You know what I mean? Like, I want to live in like one of those kind of open spaces. As someone who is now leaning towards really wanting to do that in my life, the idea of being forced to like live in some apartment or whatever in like a city by the government, that's those are some fighting words, honestly, in Minecraft, joking, of course. But it's just like, it's just a terrible idea. No, land, and that's a joke. Okay, that's a joke, but I'm just saying it's not something I want to do. Okay, so that's just not a good idea. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being told by like the urban elite where you have to live? That's a disaster. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. See, again, it's just like, what's the framing of this question? What are we talking about specifically? Like, I don't, I'm not against people who like are investors or stuff like that, whatever. I do think in the higher up hedge funds and whatnot, there's definitely a lot of like corrupt things that go on. There's people that just like basically buy and sell out like whole towns and stuff like that, and just manipulate the market for their own gain. But what are we talking about manipulating money? Because understanding this test is written by a leftist, that they just don't know like how money works. They might be people who just think like genuine investing without insider info or whatever is like, manipulating money and contributing nothing. So like, I don't know what they're talking about here. But assuming it's written by like some coping progressive, I'll just put slightly disagree. Like, I don't know. It's just like, what do you mean by that? Again, this is a vague, loaded question. I just don't know. I just don't know what the deal is. Okay. So disagree because agree would imply you're left. No, this is again the correct answer. This is again the correct answer. Like that's exactly the thing. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Protectionism is always necessary in trade. But yes, strongly agree. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Okay, so again, this is, if you're from the Ayn Rand Institute, the answer is yes. But as we know, like, that's not the way. So that's not the way I think I, as like a real conservative, and I consider myself to be one, really views society, right? Edmund Burke defines society to be a basically connected by a moral bond between the living, the dead, and those yet to be born in that society, right? That's the society, right? It's like this paternal network to one another. Like, I think we as countrymen actually do have obligations to one another. I don't say that as some like socialist or communist. They don't even believe in nation states to begin with. But with that being said, I definitely do think that, when a company definitely has way more of a social responsibility to its shareholders. They have a social responsibility to their society. They have a social responsibility to their country, and you can talk about how much the government can enforce that necessarily. But I think just like morally speaking, companies 100% have way more social should in theory have way more social responsibilities than mere profits. I think a lot of small businesses, especially in like small towns and stuff, they understand that, right? They understand the giving back aspect of it. They understand they're there for the community, this and that. But I think obviously a lot of large companies and stuff, of course, they don't view it like that. Actually, I would argue in many ways they do feel a social responsibility. It's just a corporate social responsibility to leftism, to liberalism, to globalism, right? To those causes. So you know it's very interesting because when libertarians and stuff might try to argue against this, they're basically arguing to keep things the way they are. But the way I think I would argue the way things are, it's not so much like totally apathetic social companies, right? I don't think most companies in America are just totally apathetic to issues of politics and country and society. It's just that their allegiances, as you can see by their profile pictures every June and all the causes and stuff they donate to and all their advertising, it's that their allegiances are not to tradition, to America, to conservatives, right? Their allegiances are to the opposite of that. But with that being said, I strongly disagree, right? Strongly disagree. I think companies absolutely should have social responsibilities, or I don't say should have. I think they do have social responsibilities. Whether or not they fulfill them, they absolutely do have social responsibilities outside of quote unquote delivering a profit to their shareholders. I think that's absolutely true. The rich are too highly taxed. I'm kind of neutral on this. I mean, honestly, I think everyone's kind of too highly taxed. So I guess I'll say like slightly agree with that. I'm not for like, it's just I'm not like really a huge tax cuts guy. Like, I do think we should cut taxes, so I'll put agree. It's not really like the biggest issue to me, but I'll say generally agree with that, especially considering the fact that once again, if I put disagree, it would assume on this test that I am a leftist, and we can't have that. We can't have that. So I'm gonna put agree with that. All right, let's see. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Yeah, I strongly agree with that. Like, it's just I'm not a total libertarian when it comes to healthcare, but again, this is kind of the same thing as like land or bottled water. It's like, what else are you going to do with it, right? It's a service. It's something that's scarce. Like obviously, I think it is just the way things are that because there is a cost to medicine. Obviously, people with more money are going. Now, I do think there should be kind of a guarantee. I don't want to say guarantee, but we should work as hard as possible to make sure there is some kind of like minimum baseline care that you're able to receive. But I think generally speaking, yeah, like again, what else are you going to do with it? Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Strongly agree. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Strongly agree. Strongly agree. I think we know the story there. I don't even support that just for free market purposes, but even from the free market perspective, I think we can do a little bit of Teddy Roosevelting, right? So strongly agree. Strongly agree. All right. We're now on page 3. Should I check chat real quick? I'll scroll through chat real quick. Make sure you don't get any super chats. All right, no super chats, so we can keep going. All right. Slapstyle admin says he's getting in Ushanka soon. Based, join the Ushanka gang. Let's go. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Strongly agree, obviously. All authority should be questioned. I would put disagree. I mean, I guess all authority should technically can technically be questioned in the sense that you kind of just ask why it's there and kind of just search for the validity of it. So, but yeah, it's just I'm just coping by saying that. I mean, I disagree with that. Are you going to question God's authority? Really? No, God's authority should not be questioned. At least you can like understand it, right? I guess that could be like questioning his authority by just trying to understand his authority, but question in the sense that like you try to just decide like I don't really agree with that. I'm not sure if that's no. First of all, you're a heretic. Second of all, who are you to think that you, as a mortal human being, a mortal, flawed, imperfect, with sin human being, are like wiser than God? Okay, wiser than the perfect being of the universe. Okay, no. You're coping. You're coping. You're cringe. You're being dumb. And we should absolutely not question God's authority. So I'm gonna put this now. Other manly authorities. I didn't put strongly disagree because like there are other manly authorities of earthly authorities that obviously I think it's right to question, but you don't question God's authority. I mean, you just don't. Noah Boyd says I'm very low energy tonight. It's all good because I'm high energy tonight. I don't know if you guys noticed. It's the final stream of the night. It's final stream of the year. I'm trying to be as high energy as possible. So yeah, and Adam and Eve got banished from the Garden of Eden. It's so true. It's so true. A serpent in a that's a serpent in a garden question. It's true. Oh, I don't know. Do you really agree with God on that? Do you really agree with that? Serpent in a garden. That's who's talking to you. Satan's talking to you, directly or indirectly, right? That's a serpent in a garden moment. It's so true. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Okay, so I'll be honest. I still don't fully understand this. I'm not generally inclined to agree with the standard from a political basis. I also know we have where is it? Where is it? We have Matthew 5:38 to 48, which says, "You've heard it was said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn them the other cheek also." Right? But that's I think from a personal standard. I think from a political standard, it is a good way to govern a society for the most part. You know what I mean? You need justice in that society, right? I think Matthew 5:38 to 48 is kind of more about the way you should personally live your life, which I agree with, right? It's we don't live your life vengefully. Of course I agree with it. I'm sorry. That was me sounding whoa, I don't know if no, okay, of course I agree with it. It's the word of God. But you know what I'm saying? But I think it's more of a personal standard that's being preached than a total societal standard. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, what do you guys think I should answer on this? Because it's in my personal life, no, we're taught not to be vengeful, but if I think the way you're gonna lead a society politically, you kind of have to have that standard, right? You have to have sort of an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth standard, or else you have a society without justice, right? You have kind of an anarchic society. So I guess I'll put agree because it is a political test, right? It's not necessarily a personal test, more so a political test, and that's the way it is, right? Um, but again, personally, that's actually not a good standard to live by, and the Bible tells us not to live that way. Okay, taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Strongly disagree with this statement, because I think that regardless of whether or not it can function, it can make a profit financially speaking, there is still a vested national interest in the preservation and the promotion of the arts and history and kind of the heritage of our country, and don't get me wrong. Okay, now don't get me wrong. Anything nowadays that the government is funding, we know it's going to be funding something for left-wing causes, because the left-wingers run both the arts and the institutions and the government at the same time. So obviously we know that. But in an ideal sense, in our the society we want, I think there absolutely is a vested interest in, promoting the heritage and the arts and preserving those things that are key to the heritage of our country. And that's regardless of whether or not they're financially feasible, right? They operate at a gain or a loss. It doesn't really matter to me. Like I said, I think we have a vested interest as a country, as a society, not just as a market. Hold on, I'm going to turn on the fan real quick. It's so hot in here. But not just as a market or a collection of buyers and sellers or whatever, but as a country, as a society of people, right? As Burke puts it, a moral bond between the living, the dead, and those yet to be born. We absolutely have an obligation kind of to preserve that type of stuff and protect that type of stuff. So strongly disagree with that statement. And again, the libertarians, the fiscal conservatives, they can cope and seethe. They can cope and seethe about that, All right. School should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I guess I agree with that. I mean, I don't know. I guess I agree with that. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that are different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. So this is Let me, what did the political compass test mean by this? What did the political compass test mean by this? Regardless, however, I strongly agree with that statement, actually, as a matter of fact, because, other people are going to be like, "Whoa, what?" But it's just true. diversity is not it's people sometimes try to diversity cannot always be no, it's just not a strength. Like, diversity is not a strength. It does not make society stronger when people do not share things in common, right? And any strong society is going to require some degree of unity, right? People will have to share things in common, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And so, it's not a matter of necessarily, I mean, sometimes I think it's true, but it's not even necessarily of like superiority of like one group or over another group, or one culture, whatever, over another culture, whatever, right? It's just the fact that, you're gonna, in order to have a stable society, you're gonna want things to be as cohesive and as unified as possible. And so it is absolutely better off that basically people are with one another, that are I'll say of similar things, right? Of similar things. And so, I strongly agree with that statement. And I think anyone who is being honest would agree with that statement. I mean, I know people are gonna try to like, whoa, no, let's be honest. Let's be realistic about the way that society works. Of course that's true. Of course that's true. Um, all right. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. I mean, I was never spanked. I don't really plan on spanking my kids, but I'll put like agree kind of with this statement. I don't. I think that you know I don't think that a good parent is someone who like always hits their kids, or obviously the legal rule is you can hit your kids but you don't leave a mark. Like, I'm not for that, but I think that there is something to be said about just the fact that it's just the way I think most kids were raised, like back in the day. It's just spanking was kind of a part of it. Uh, I don't know if I'm like treading on like guidelines here, so I'm just gonna shut up. But I think that it's I'm just whatever. I don't know if I'm treading on like guidelines here, so I'm just gonna retract all of that. I'm gonna disavow everything I just said. I was joking about that, but I'll put agree with that statement. Generally, not always, but generally. Um, all right, it is natural for some kids to keep secrets from their parents. I mean, yeah, it's natural. I don't like. I still don't understand this question. Like, this is, uh, yeah, I guess. And like, what? You know what I mean? I don't know. I guess I agree. It's just like what? But what is this question trying to? I don't freaking know. Whatever. It's a true statement, so I'll put agree. But I just I don't know what this even means. I don't know. Um, Whatever. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Strongly disagree with that. Strongly disagree. I think I might have answered differently on the last political compass test, but no, weed is cringe. Okay, like the legalization of weed movement, and I know a lot of conservatives and like especially like populists and liberal, they try to get behind it because they think it's based. It's not based. You know, hippie culture is unironically what destroyed this country. It's like it's easy to look back at Woodstock and all those anti-Vietnam War protests and be like, these people were so dumb. Look how dumb they look. Look how much losers they look. Look how terrible their physiognomy is. Look at the fact they haven't even showered in like 7 days at like this march or whatever. But you really realize that those are the people that ultimately change the face of this country, right? These are ultimately the people who now basically run everything. And I think you understand that it's just bad. Weed is bad. We in the really my biggest qualm with weed, I number one, I hate the smell. It smells disgusting. Okay, and it makes people dumb and docile and lazy, which I think is on purpose, right? But honestly, I'll be honest, none of those things are my biggest qualm with weed. My biggest qualm with weed is the fact that it is a symbol, it is a cultural symbol of liberalism. It is a cultural symbol of hippies. And for that reason alone, keep it illegal. That's it. That's it. You want to really own the libs? You're not going to own the libs by passing tax cuts or whatever. You want to own the libs, go after weed. Okay? Seriously, it's a symbol of cultural liberalism, and for that reason alone, it's cringe. It's cringe. Yes. Make hippies illegal again. Make hippies and hippie culture illegal again. Because honestly, you take away the weed, what personality do they have? None. They don't have any. And it's really pathetic too. It's really sad how The amount of our generation, amount of Zoomers that like do weed every day, like they'll take edibles or smoke it like every day. It's insane. And these are the same people who be like, well, alcohol is worse, bro. Don't you know? It's like, okay, but yeah, there's alcoholics, but I don't see like your average person who drinks like doing literally having it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner like every single day. And you can't go a day without having weed, you know. I honestly, I wonder if by the time these people are 30, are they going to have any brain cells left? Like, genuine question. I don't think it's the case. I don't think it's the case. So long story short, weed is a liberal psyop. It is a symbol of liberalism. And so for that reason, I hate it. I hate it for other reasons too, but for that reason, I hate it. It's cringe. Keep it illegal. Make it illegal. And you know what? People can try to get mad at that all they want, but it's true. It's true. I remember once I was on a live debating this kind of thing with this guy from Tia. I think his name was Gunner or something, and he tried to say like, "Whoa, don't you know the reason why weed is illegal is because Richard Nixon was trying to go after the anti-war left because he was trying to shut down his political opponents." And this guy's a Republican. This guy's from like today's America, and I was like, based. Yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Go after weed to go after the left. It's so true. It's so true. Like that's epic. Another common Richard Nixon W. It's so true. It's so true. But anyways, weed is cringe. Okay, weed is cringe. Seth, smoke weed while your car gets robbed in LA. So true. So true. It's like the symbols of smoking weed are just not good. It's all like Seth Rogen types, It's just it's bad. Don't smoke. Don't. And if you've ever done weed, don't do it anymore. Hopefully you're not like people say it's not addictive. It's clearly addictive because the people who like smoke it all the time. All the time. Every day you have an edible. And I know this because I'm around Zoomers. I go to school and stuff. I'm not like some kid in his basement, contrary to what people see. Like I interact with mainstream society. I know what people do in mainstream society, and it really is that bad, you know. So, anyways, the prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Slightly agree in the sense that I think that should be the prime function of schooling, right? In any society, that has to be the main function of schooling before anything else. It's like, you need the main function is to like make useful members out of society. With that being said, I don't think it's like the only function by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that, ideally the purpose of schooling also ought to be to instill, the values of that society and to make moral people out of that society, right? Make moral, hardworking, patriotic, people, traditional people out of that society too. And so, obviously, I think things like history, the arts, whatnot. I think that stuff is all very important in school. But I guess I'll put slightly agree in the sense that, right, that's the primary function of school, right? The main prime function, as it says, of school is really to like just make competent people that can enter the workforce. But this whole idea that we should only make school about that, it's just like everything else in school is stupid. Just teach me how to find a job. No, I don't think that's how school should be. That is preferable to a bunch of left-wing cultural indoctrination, which you have now. But ideally, I don't think that's all there should be to schooling, and I don't think that's a society you're going to see that really has any degree of culture or morality or anything. But, I slightly agree in the sense that's the main function, right? So Jennifer says schools used to teach girls home economics, which was very useful to wives and mothers. So true. So true. Bring back home ec. It's so true. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree. This is cringe, godless eugenicist stuff. Shut up. You're cringe. And this is ungodly. And this is antichrist. So get out of here. Okay. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. I strongly disagree with that. Like it is, I guess, in many ways, it is an important thing for children to learn. But there are far more important things for children to learn than to accept discipline. Like far, far more important things to learn. So I would strongly disagree with that. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. Strongly disagree with that. There absolutely are savage and uncivilized, and they're obviously civilized people. So that's a cope. That's a cope. Obviously, there are savage and uncivilized people. So, strongly disagree. those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society support. Yeah, no, I strongly agree with that. I agree with that. And I'm not. I'm for favor. I'm not. You guys know I'm not a total like economic libertarian, but I'm in favor of if there is to be a welfare state, I'm in favor of it helping working people and helping families and stuff like that. I'm not for the welfare state being used to just aid unemployed like losers, and potheads. So obviously, I would say I strongly agree with that. Um, all right. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Again, what does this? How is this a political question? What does this have to do with anyone's political values? And again, this is even a question that it's like there's not even an absolute to this. Like, yes, sometimes it's better to just kind of distract yourself. Sometimes you have to confront what's troubling with you. I'll put slightly disagree because I think more often than not, you do need to kind of eventually confront what's troubling you, right? But even it's not always like that. But I'll put like again. That's how I put like slightly disagree, I guess, because it's more true than not. It's better to just confront what's troubling you most of the time, But it's just okay, whatever. It's just I guess so. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Strongly agree with that. I agree with that. I think that it really has to take second. Second is probably the earliest that you can see full integration into someone's new country. Is because I mean I guess if you come like when you're very very young, then sure. But from assuming this is someone who comes like over the age of 10, over the age of 20, whatever. I think that there always will be a sense of like never fully being immersed in every aspect of the new country's culture, and there's always going to be some type of like lived experience. And even and by the way, even if you're fully patriotic and you're very grateful for the opportunities that your new country is giving you, whatever, there always just will be this kind of just you know you're never going, because I think in order to fully be integrated in your new country or in a country, you'd have to be kind of raised up and brought up when your mind is still impressionable and stuff like that, within that home country's culture, and I think if you come basically after the age of 10, it just will never be the same, right? You'll never quite. And by the way, I'm not saying like you're not that they're like not Americans or whatever, but you're never quite going to be like fully assimilated, fully integrated necessarily. I think at the very earliest that can happen is second generation. Oftentimes it doesn't even happen second generation, but I think in order to fully be integrated within any country, and this is not hating on people who are immigrants, a lot of my family are immigrants, but I think there's definitely a sense of like, you're just never gonna, you always have this sort of split experience in your life, right? You know what I'm saying? The exception, of course, is me, because because as we all know, I've lived in like North Central-ish Florida for like 6 months, and we all know I'm a proud, fully assimilated a part of Greater Dixie. Okay, and it's true. I am, and you can cope and seethe about it all you want, but it's true. It's true. I've only been here about 6 months. Some people say I don't even live in the South, but everyone knows I'm a Dixie boy. It's so true. I am. You can cope about that all you want. All the Southerners are gonna be like, no, you're not. And the people who are from like the deep South and be like, Florida's not even the South, bro. It doesn't matter. You can cope all you want. I know the words to Dixieland Delight with the add-ons, right? With the SEC lyrics added onto it. Yeah, I know those. I can rap all the words, not the chorus. I can rap all the verses to Dirt Road Anthem. Okay. I've witnessed SEC football with the tailgates. Okay, like what else is there to do? What else is there to do? I am Dixie. You can cope and seethe. You can cope and seethe. I'm a real Southerner. All right, cope all you want. Now the nativists are gonna be after me. No, it's not. Dixieland is Dowland. Cope harder. Cope harder. Okay, cope harder. Unironically, it is actually very fun to insult people by calling them Yankees. It is very fun. It is very fun. But that's what it is. Oh, by the way, I can't even Orange Horseman's gonna get mad at me for this, but I have had sweet tea. I've had it too. All right. I've had it. It's not that bad. Actually, down south it's not that bad, but I've had it. Okay. So come after me. Okay. I know chicken fried. I know Dirt Road Anthem. I know Dixieland Delight. Cope and seethe harder. Dixieland is Downland. You're gonna deal with it. You're gonna like it. So true. So true. Okay. Zed says, "How can you cope with the human nightmare that is Southern climate?" Well, I got used to it. When I first got here, it was pretty bad, but now I'm used to it. It's so funny. I remember when my mom visited me out like North Florida, and it was like, let me think. It was. I think it was like Labor Day weekend, right? And it unironically was like the nicest weather we had so far. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so humid. How do you deal with this?" And I was like, "Yep, you know, this is nice. I don't know what you're talking about." All right. Dow can't even go outside in the 60s without putting a jacket on. Oh, yeah. And people are going to say I'm not a real Southerner. I'm not a real North Florida nationalist. No, deal with it. Cope harder. Cope harder. Seriously. You're going to seethe. You're going to seethe. So, anyways, let us continue the test here. But long story short, I'm the exception in this. Okay, I'm fully integrated into Dixie, and few will understand this. Few will take this into account. Okay, what's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Strongly disagree with that. Strongly disagree with that. Because what's good for the most successful what's the best for the most successful corporations, right, is kind of a slavish, sheepish, dopamine addicted, consumerist addicted society that will just buy constantly. And that is not good for the rest of us, right? A porn addicted, dopamine addicted society that's addicted to, their screens and porn and drugs and everything, and consumerism. That is not a good society. That's not a healthy society. But that is a society that is the best for the most successful corporations. So I would say strongly disagree with that. Like that's very rarely to never true, I would say, honestly. So strongly disagree. No broadcast institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. I disagree with that. I now obviously would I say right now I think it's good that the government funds things like NPR or whatever. Of course not. But ideally, if we had control, like I would like PBS and like public institutions to be teaching like American history and American values and like real American values and stuff like that. Like of course it's the same thing with like the museums and the the theaters and the art and stuff like that. I think absolutely like our government should fund that if we are in control of that government, right? If conservatives are in control, we absolutely ought to be funding things like that, because we're adding to the culture, we're protecting our values, our culture, our national heritage, things like that, and broadcasting institutions, PBS, stuff like that. That's absolutely one way to do it. So I would agree with that. All right. Let me plug in my computer real quick because it's actually unplugged and I don't want it to die on camera. Everyone's going to be like, "Oh, it's 12. What's today's date? 12/28." But let me see. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Strongly agree. Strongly agree. And this was something I firmly believed kind of like really all along, But I think especially you look at sort of everything that has transpired, especially post 1/6, all that stuff. I think you're ridiculous if you don't think that's true. It's obviously the case. Strongly agree. I don't think there's not much else that needs to be said about it, especially considering we are the victims of it. We are the victims of that counterterrorism as conservative activists in America. So strongly agree. Of course. Of course. Vietnam. Someone says Vietnam and Dixie are very human places. No wonder he adapted. It is so true. Okay, it's so true. I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana too, which was actually more humid than it was in Florida that week. But look at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's like there's a lot of Vietnamese people in Louisiana. They all do like shrimping and boating and stuff like that. It's true. It's true. It's like a transplant. It's like a transplant culture of one to another. I'm a South Vietnamese Dixie nationalist. It's true. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all of the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. I mean, strongly agree with this. I don't see how it could not that anyone could disagree with that statement. Whether or not you support a democratic system or one party state, of course, it is true that a significant advantage of a one party state is that things get done faster, right? In there's no having to deal with the democracy. And maybe you think that's a bad thing, maybe you think that's a good thing. but it's of course true. It's of course true, and so I strongly agree with that. Of course, and democracy is generally cringe. I'm not. I really I do have kind of admiration for, I think, the republic and the way it was supposed to work. Right, the original system the founders set it up to be, but generally speaking, democratic political systems are not good to begin with. But regardless, this is not a question asking, where you stand on that. Regardless, so whatever. But strongly agree. Um, let's see. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree with that. I mean, we literally have federal agents wiretapping the phones of conservatives and stuff like that. I mean, this is ridiculous. Of course, we all need to be worried. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crime. Strongly agree with that. I strongly agree with that. And frankly, I don't know how someone could like on it. I know very often Christians try to say like, no, um, and I'm again, like, I don't think it tells us what we like. You're not. I'm not saying like you're not an authentic Christian or whatever if like you don't support the death penalty, but the idea that like I don't understand how you could like read the Bible like front to back, and somehow think that it's like anti-Christian to support the death penalty. Like it doesn't make sense to me. You know, I'm not, and we're not ancient Israel. We don't have to have all the laws of ancient Israel. That is true. That is true. We are not the ancient nation of Israel, but understanding and assuming that it was something that was, openly done in ancient Israel, and it's an Exodus, all that stuff. I don't understand how you can look at that and say that like it's anti-Christian to like you're not a real Christian if you support the death penalty. How people can say that. I'm not saying you have to support the death penalty. You can have other reasons you don't. But the idea that like you're not a real Christian if you're pro death penalty, I don't understand how anyone can read the Bible and like think that, because it's actually basically endorsed. Um, so in a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Strongly agree. Strongly agree. Hierarchy is a good thing. Conservative ideology is basically founded and based off the premise that hierarchy is natural, hierarchy will exist, and because there are people who will ultimately always seek to be strong, and they're and with more agency, and they'll be wiser, and there'll be better people. People think people that are better at certain things than others in societies. Obviously hierarchies will always form, and that's a good thing. Society needs hierarchy in order to function correctly. Every successful society always has implemented a successful form of hierarchy. Equality leads to anarchy. It does, and anarchy leads to chaos and mass death and all that. So obviously any true conservative ought to put strongly agree on that, because it's true. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. I strongly agree with this. Okay, and obviously I've talked about the importance of the arts and all that stuff, but have you ever seen abstract art? Abstract art is literally like postmodernist just nonsense. Okay, like this is one. I don't know if you ever have time. Look up. Don't go there yourself. Literally, do not. If you go there yourself, you are a loser. And I think there's a you have to show your passport to get there anyways, which is just don't do that. But there's an abstract art museum in New York City. Have you ever seen some of the stuff they have there? It's like a banana on a wall, and it's like scribbles with crayons, and they consider that to be art. And people will pay like thousands of dollars to buy this type of art. It's like you people are being taken along for suckers, okay? And I'm all for art. I'm all for natural beauty, but these are things that are not beautiful, okay? This is just postmodern nonsense. You look at the stuff they built during the Renaissance, the things they drew during the Renaissance, it is beautiful art. Historical Western art, even going further back to that, you look at Roman sculptures, Greek sculptures, stuff like that. You look at the Hagia Sophia. I don't know if you want to consider that Western civilization, but before the Muslims, committed a bunch of heresy with it, the Hagia Sophia, things like that. That is not abstract art. That is very real concrete art that you can concretely conceptualize that beauty. And ever since the 60s, we've had a bunch of godless, atheist degenerates, even before the 60s, really, creating the art. And because they have no concept of God, and therefore they have no concept of natural beauty or anything, they have created the worst things. I've never seen stuff so bad as this. It's just so abstract art is terrible. It's not art. I mean, frankly, it should be. I'm not. I'm not okay. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that, but it just shouldn't be a thing. Okay, it just shouldn't be a thing. Um, I will say, okay, I'll meet halfway and say it just whatever. No, I'm not gonna. Never mind. I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say what we should do to abstract art. But it's bad. Okay, it's no abstract. Abstract art is stupid, um, and it's postmodern nonsense. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Um, I put strongly agree with this for this reason. Because I know people will say, well, shouldn't the most important priority be to rehabilitate criminals? And I think that should be a priority, right? We should always kind of at least try. I know you're not going to be successful with a lot of people, but the main purpose, and people seem to forget this, but the main purpose of a criminal justice system is is not to like rehabilitate the criminal. The main purpose of any criminal justice system is to seek justice, right? To provide justice for the victim, to provide justice for those who have had crimes committed against them. And so ultimately understanding that, I understand that that's the point. The point is to provide justice for the victim, not necessarily first and foremost. That's the main point, not just rehabilitation for the innocent. I think it's easy to understand then, right, why punishment is more important than rehabilitation in criminal justice, right? And I think that if you just understand properly the concept of criminal justice, it makes sense. But if you don't view it like that, then I guess it gets confusing. But I think that's very basic. I think that's very basic understanding. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. As a Christian, I try to incline not to say yes because I think all things are possible through Jesus Christ, and it's like the 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 worst of people can genuinely have a change of heart, through God, through Christ, through which all things are possible. But with that said, I think, realistically, if we're talking, because we're talking about politically, like, is this something that the government should keep on trying for? I'd have to agree. It is a waste of time to rehabilitate some criminals, because you can try all you want. You can try to like make them into upstanding individuals all you want. Ultimately, it's going to have to be a choice that they make, and at a certain point, I don't think it's feasible for the government to continue spending resources on it, and it's a choice they have to make in their heart. That's it. That's all there is to it. And so I definitely think it is oftentimes a waste of time. There's a lot of people who I don't want to say they'll never change, because obviously, like I said, I think through Christ all things are possible. It's possible for literally like anyone to genuinely repent. But like I said, ultimately that's not something that a government's going to be able to do. That's ultimately something that those people themselves, God gives them the choice, not the government the choice. God gives those people the choice, and ultimately it's going to be one that they are going to have to personally at some point. I don't think the government can continue to hold your hand in it, or anyone can continue to hold your hand in it. It's something that at some point they're just going to have to be the ones that decide that. Okay, so I agree. I agree with that. Um, the business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. I strongly disagree with that. Now it is technically true in a sense. Okay, it is technically true that like society without the writer and the artist can continue to keep like turning, right? The wheels will keep turning of society, whereas without the business person and the manufacturer, basically everyone's going to starve. Like that part is true. But I think ultimately speaking, a society without the writer and the artist, it's not really a society, right? It's more so like a collection of people, right? And I think that any society needs to like build culture to be any place worth living. So it's like it's true. Yeah, the business person, the manufacturer, they're the reason you have food to eat. It's the reason you have a place that you live under. That's all true. But it is the writer and the artist that make your just collection of people into a society, into a country, into a culture, right? Something that you can take pride in, something that you this to make it a place worth living, right? You know what I'm saying? And so and I know the generic conservative answer should be no, the writer and the artist are stupid. They're liberal arts majors. They're just like it's a business person, manufacturer more important, obviously. And I used to answer strongly agree to this question, but the more you mature, the more you understand that we're not just robots. Okay, we're not just consumers and buyers. We are people. We are human beings. We are Americans. We are members of a country. And then I think you understand that there is actually a very necessary need for the writer and the artist, and you really can't have any type of functioning society without them. You know, so and I think as conservatives, that ought to, we as real conservatives, again, not just like economic rightoids, right? But like real conservatives understand beauty, and we have an appreciation for natural beauty, right? Because we believe in that stuff, and we believe in God and whatnot. And so for that reason alone, I think there's a strong case to be made that we really ought to cherish, the writer and the artist, and we ought to make conservative versions of the writers and the artists. So, you know, mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Strongly agree. Strongly agree. Does that need an explanation? Do we need to explain that? No, but strongly agree. And I think that is the natural beauty, and not natural duty. Sorry, it is beautiful too. It's very beautiful, but I think that's a natural duty of woman, right? Is to nurture, to care, to make things beautiful, right? To make homes beautiful, to raise beautiful children, right? I think that is the natural beauty. And people will say it's sexist. People, it's not. It is a very beautiful thing. I think it is the way God made us. And I think you kind of observe that in nature too. You know, man's duty is to provide, to protect. Woman's duty is to cherish and nurture, right? And it's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. Actually, I there's a meme about there's like one of those it's like the Trad wife Wojak and like the Chad Wojak, and it's like the Chad is like, you take care of the children and I'll take care of us, and the Trad wife Wojak is like, I'm the happiest woman in the world. It's true. It's so true. You know. And Noah Boyd sends $5, says, here's a few more. Thank you very much, Noah. We appreciate it. We appreciate the Christmas gift. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. But and by the way, I do think this is the role of woman. This is the female's role, because as much as we want to push blank slate theory and pretend that like the only difference between the genders is like outwardly and just like biological, no, there's definitely an emotional, psychological, and like spiritual difference between men and women. And you can observe that first and foremost because most men are terrible homemakers. I mean, it's just true. And look, I know there's exceptions. Maybe there's some guys who are better than others, but like generally speaking, you have do stay at home dads, or do we really know what we're doing? When we're stay at home dads, right? Do we feel natural in that role? Are men as good of homemakers as women? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. And I think you can observe that. So it's not just like, well, everyone should be a homemaker. No, I think it's accurately, and I think God made us that way. I think you could observe that from a secular perspective too, right? It is a naturally female role, and it is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. But anyways, all right, next question. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I don't really know much about this. I don't really know what's being referred to, but to me, it sounds like some cringe, like UN documentary thing. Like, it doesn't just sound like something that people would say to try to like get people to donate to UNESCO or something like that. So for that reason alone, because it sounds like some type of like globalist psyop question, I'm going to put disagree. I don't know anything more than that. I don't. But does it not just sound like something you'd hear about in like some type of like globalist documentary? It does not sound like something that like you do to like donate to like the World Bank or something like that. Doesn't it just sound like that? It just sounds like that. So I'm just gonna put disagree. I don't know else. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I disagree with that. It depends on what the establishment is, right? If the establishment is, against you, if the establishment is anti-God, if the establishment is anti-conservative, I don't think that's an establishment that we ought to like make peace with mentally, So disagree. Astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree. Astrology is fake. Astrology is a cope. Okay, it is just a cope by like young women because they, college age women because they lack God and they're coping and they don't want to come to God. They don't want to accept Christ into their lives. And so instead they'll try to like, oh, what zodiac? So I'm zodiac. They try to just understand the world through this fake, made-up pagan lens, and it is just cringe. John says, I don't know what currency that is. Is that? I don't know. I don't know what CA is. What is CA? I'm trying to think. Is that like? What would CA be? I don't even know. But he says $140 of it. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year's to you. I appreciate it. I don't know what country that currency is, but I appreciate it very much. I appreciate it. You know, astrology is racism for women. Unironically, not that far off, right? Because women will unironically like discriminate based on like, zodiac. Oh, typical Aries, typical Taurus. Oh, I can't date a I don't know what else is there. Leo, I can't date a Leo. Yeah, what are you being racist? What are you being? What are you, some kind of racist? Oh, it's true though. Unironically though, I did once hear a woman give a. I know I heard a woman give a good take. No, it's true though. I did once hear like a Christian woman give a good take on this, which is that it's basically the astrology is like, one that bears no responsibility, right? It's basically like, you can blame your actions. Oh, well, I just broke something again. Not just me being a quirky Caprio, whatever, And that's part of the reason why they want to believe in that and like manifesting to the universe, whatever that means, right? There's no sense of like ownership or accountability the way there is in Christianity, where it's like it's your choice, it's in your hands, Astrology is just not like that. Okay, all right. Next question. You cannot be moral without being religious. Strongly agree. I agree. And I'm sorry to the secular people, but I do think this is kind of like the similar to almost like the works versus faith debate. Like you can do moral things, you can like do moral actions in your life, but I think morality is not just something that is outward. I think morality is also something that is inward, right? It is kind of an inward belief. It is inward concepts, inward values, and I think that without being religious, you can't really have those in their truest sense, right? And so again, you can do moral things. You can kind of be what we would call a moral person because you live life in a moral way, but like, I think that morality, like I said, is not just works, right? And morality is not just kind of the way you live your life. It's also something internal. And I think that, at least from my point of view, as someone who is a Christian, as a religious person, I don't believe that whatever you feel inside, whatever you kind of, they always just say it's just human good, common good, universal good, whatever. No, I don't believe in that. And I think that, I don't think that that's like true morality kind of on the inside, if that makes sense. So I would strongly agree. I don't think you can be moral without being religious. Again, not that you're like a bad person or you're just like an evil person if you're not religious, but I think that like I said, I think morality is not just something that's external, it's also internal. And like I don't think you can really be internally moral and justified in that morality without being religious. You know what I mean? So I put strongly agree with that. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. I strongly agree with that. Generally speaking, that's true. That's the case. Some people are naturally unlucky. I don't know. You see, it depends what you really define to be unlucky. You know what I mean? Because okay, understanding that it's like our God has a plan for our lives, which means you could look at it either way. It's if like just I don't know. Let's just take like the story of Job, right? Someone might say he is naturally unlucky because that's God's plan for his life was like, to put him through all this hardship to test him. But on the other side, you might say you're being that's actually kind of heresy to look at it that way. You're not naturally unlucky. That's just what God's plan is for you. And that's what God's plan is for your life. And so it's like, so I'm gonna put disagree. I guess I'll put disagree because it's like, you may see it as being unlucky, but ultimately that's God's plan for your life. Like that's what it is, So I guess I'll put disagree with that. It's important that my child's school instills religious values. Strongly agree. I'm still torn on whether or not I really homeschool my children. I'm not sure on that because I want to do homeschooling correctly, and I'm not going to like put my kid online. Like that's torture, but like ideally, I think by homeschooling it'd be more to be like community schooling, right? Like ideally, you'd like to have kind of a community of like-minded families and mothers and stuff, and we kind of like raise our. Here, can I tell you my ideal? Can you tell me my ideal goal here? Okay, can I tell you my ideal like life plotting out whatever? Okay. Like, I don't want my kids to be raised. First of all, I know it's a LARP, and I know I used to call it a LARP, but increasingly, like, I genuinely do want to live on, like, some, like, rural property, like, big rural property, like, down south or whatever. But that's number one. But also, like, number two, I don't want my kids to be raised with like cell phones or all this technology in their hands. Like I don't, it's obvious. Like I think we obviously understand why it's not the right way to raise a kid. It's not the way a kid is supposed to be raised. The issue I have is like, if you send your kid to like public school, you put your kid in the rest of society. Like if you don't give them a phone, but everyone else has a phone, first of all, they're like a social outcast, first of all. And it's like, second of all, it's not really going to matter because all the type of bad stuff and all the whatnot that they get exposed to through the internet and stuff, it's going to reach them eventually. So what you almost need is like a community of like families and parents that all commonly agree none of our kids are going to have cell phones, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, think of something like porn. And like, don't pretend like you never like have known what it is. Or of course you did, but how was it first exposed to you in like middle school, high school, whatever? Maybe you found it yourself, but very often it's very often it's that someone else found it and they kind of introduced it to everyone else, and it kind of spreads like a cancer in that way. And that's the way with a lot of things. And so it's like, it's not enough to just say, I'm going to just raise my kid normally, but I'm not going to give them a phone. No, like you have to basically have a community around you that like, all kind of agrees on that, and that like, ideally we like to like have a community like that where we all basically raise our kids together, and we all kind of agree like, this is how we're raising our kids. We're raising them the traditional way without the technology. They're going to play with each other. They're going to know each other. They're going to talk to each other. They're going to know God, all that stuff. That's how we're going to raise our kids, right? But you need to, and I like them to be homeschooled in that sense. Homeschooled in the sense that like we kind of all raise and educate them as a community. You know what I'm saying? That's how I want my kids to be homeschooled, quote unquote. Not homeschooled like, okay, Jimmy, here, do this online course. No, I would rather probably send my kids to like real school than to do that. But that's the ideal homeschooling for me. I know it's a LARP. It's a LARP. It's a fantasy. But I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe there will be enough of us by then where, most of you guys are my age. Maybe we can all do it together. We'll all do it together. We'll buy some property in like, I don't know, rural Georgia or Florida or like Alabama or Tennessee or something, right? We'll buy some property. We'll all like raise our kids that way. It'll be nice. It'll be very wholesome. It'll be very wholesome. Okay, Amish. We don't have to be full on Amish, We can. I'm fine with them having like TV and stuff for like certain hours of the day, But it's like TV, you can control. You can control TV. You can control even like something like the computer, right? Because they can't just take it everywhere, carry it everywhere. But it's like the cell phone and whatever else they have by then, that just cannot be in there. Okay, that just cannot be there. Okay, sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Strongly agree. It is always immoral. It is always immoral. The Bible is clear. Traditional values are clear. It's always immoral. I don't know what else there is to say. I don't know what else there's to say about that. But like we as Christians, we don't dislike sex. We're not against sex. But we add, this is the, we're not like what's the word, ascetic, right? We're not like ascetic on the question. It's the fact that we see sex as something that is so, that is so good, actually, as a matter of fact, that it's meant to be, a sacred gift from God between man and woman, between a husband and his wife, right? So that's how we see sex. Noah Boyd says, guys on the internet talking about raising their kids without technology based in ethics. So true. So true. The great hypocrisy of the trad LARPer. It is so true. It is so true. But it's real, and it's like part of the problem. The one good thing about the internet is we can actually network with each other, right, through this, because it's like, we obviously don't have this in mainstream society. It's not just like sitting around. But it's good. It's good. Listen. When I'm let's see, I want to have kids hopefully by like 26, 27. That's the goal. So like coming back to in a few years, we'll start talking about this. We'll start looking at land. We'll start looking at property, and we'll all do this together. It'll be so true. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. First of all, I disagree with even the premise of this question, because I don't truly believe that type of relationship is ever really stable and loving, at least in the sense that, God teaches us what love is, you know what I mean? But I strongly disagree with that. I'm not in favor of same-sex adoption. And And I think even the concept that there is kind of a shortage of parents waiting to adopt, I don't really buy that premise. You look at adoption fees, all that stuff. Do you really think that's true necessarily? No, but no, I'm not in favor of same sex adoption. Um, let's see. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Strongly disagree. I believe porn should be illegal. I think everyone knows this already. You can watch the Doyle porn dissertation, because I'm not going to make the argument. Watch his video. Okay, I'll plug a buddy's channel, but strongly disagree with that. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I suppose I would agree with this statement in like its own abstract. The problem is that I think always inevitably what goes on in private bedrooms will spill out to the rest of society in the grand scheme of things. And I think therefore it is the business of the state, right? In a statement. Now, it's not to say that like we're going to have drones watching. Hey, are you having sex? every high school prom, you have a government mandated drone that follows you around. He's like, hey, don't go to the bathroom together. No. What are you doing? Every after party, there's like security. Hey, what are you doing? Every frat party. Hey, whoa, what are you doing? Hey, don't get her. What are you getting her Snapchat for? Huh? Curious. No, but seriously, you have like Tinder monitors. It's like, no, you better be meeting her to take her on a date. No hooking up. Hey, you're banned from Tinder. No more. Get out of here. No, but in all seriousness, but it is as a statement. It is just it's what we have to. I think what we have to genuinely understand is that, like I said, what goes on in private bedrooms will never remain in the private bedroom, and we see this with the sexual revolution. Generally speaking, we especially see this with the LGBT stuff, right? Like it's just not true. It's just kind of like a faulty premise, because inevitably, because sex is something that is important, and because relationships and stuff like that, because it also affects the ways that marriages happen, that families happen, whatnot, what have you. And it affects the way culture will form itself too. For that reason, I'd have to disagree. Not in a sense, not in the sense that I'm gonna have like drones follow everyone or every couple around or something, but in the sense that, like I said, sex is not just something that ever just is reserved to the private bedroom. Like, its effects, its fallouts, the way people view sex, the way society views sex and stuff like that, it will inevitably have other domino effects into society. And so therefore, as a statement, it absolutely is the business of a state what is going on in private bedrooms, because what is going on in private bedrooms never remains in private bedrooms. For better or for worse, whether it's people all waiting till marriage or whatever and doing it that way, or it's people doing the exact opposite of that, hooking up with like 100 people a year or whatever, inevitably on either side, it's going to ultimately affect other aspects of culture. It's ultimately going to have domino effects. And for that reason, I don't think that we can just ignore what is going on, what is going on in terms of sex, in terms of the way society views sex. Again, not to say that we're going to have drones, we're going to have like biometric scanners to be watching if you're having sex, but it is to say that we can't, that the attitude that is just nobody's business is the issue, because it always is going to become somebody's business, whether or not you like it, And so are you gonna do it correctly, or are you gonna let it become someone else's business? You're gonna let the rest of society, the degenerate aspects of society rule the rest of society, right? So that's what I would say. Matt Graham says, "What is it? The purpose? What is the purpose of it being the business of?" Well, I just explained it. We're talking about this kind of as a blanket statement. Like I said, I'm not saying that we're gonna like just be spying on people to make sure, see if they're what type of sex they're having, or whatever. But it's just to say that what goes on in private bedrooms, right? As a concept, what goes on in private bedrooms ultimately will spill out to the rest of society. And so I think we as like a country just cannot view it as just being like totally whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the way I'm seeing it, And like I said, I think the LGBT stuff is a great example of that, right? And so I can't, I can't say just no business of really, when we say the state, we're really saying no business of the society, right? Of course it's the business of the society, So that's what I would say. What if we do want drone spying in bedrooms? I'm see, now I gave people the idea, didn't I? I gave people the idea. I don't know. I don't know. I might need that for my daughter. I don't know. I don't know. It's just be like, just I'll have like a UAV right above their head. It's like like following her to prom and stuff. Like, oh, what's going on? It's like you watch her from like a control station, with the headphones on, just flying a drone in like infrared. You can see what's going on. It's true. Okay. No one can naturally feel homosexual. I still don't know what this. What do they mean? I guess agree. I don't know. What is this, I don't know what this question means. I still don't understand what this question means. Like, I don't know. But it's not natural. So can anyone feel natural? I don't know. I don't know what this question means, but I'm just gonna put agree. I don't know. These days openness about sex has gone too far. Strongly agree with that. Of course it has. All right, now let's see where you stand. Let's see. The big reveal, boys. Are we ready? Are we ready for the big reveal? Are we ready for the big reveal? All right. Let's see. Let's take our guesses first. Where do you think I'm gonna be? Huh? I'm gonna be Saudi Arabia, be Singapore. I predict I'm probably about like right here. Uruguay, Switzerland, China. What is it? Oh, there we go. All right, there we go. So I don't know. That seems reasonable to me. I don't know. It works. It works. I think that's probably slightly more authoritarian than it was last time. Economic scale is basically the same. But there you go. There's the updated political compass, folks. All right. There's the updated one. Of course, I knew I was going to get this quadrant. I wasn't sure where. Although sometimes you never know, because I know just because of the economic question, sometimes people end up in the left quadrant. But I wasn't going to let that happen. People will just make fun of that for an eternity. So I knew I would not let that happen. I would not let that happen. So there we are. There we are. All right. Matt Graham says the worse things get, the more authoritarian Dow comes. It's so true. It's so true. That's a very accurate statement. Now take the 8 value. No, we're not going to take the 8 values test. Okay. We spent an hour and a half on this test. We're not going to take another test right now. Okay. Just deal with it. You think you know where, why don't you take the 8 values test? You take the 8 values test then. All right. No, I'm not going to take the 8. The 8 values test is like 40 questions. This was like 25 or something. And look how long we took. Okay. No, we're not taking the 8 values test. Maybe on another stream. Okay, maybe on another stream, but I'm just not doing that right now, okay? Also, the 8 values test sucks. I don't know why people want me to it's a bad test. Okay, the reason I say it's a bad test is cuz like not because I think the 8 values are good, but the ideology matching is terrible. The ideology matching is like awful, okay? Like it just gives everyone like neoconservative or most of the time, right? It's just terrible. I'm not going to play into the people are going to be like, "Oh, you got caught being a neoconservative," because it gives everyone neoconservative. Oh, he got caught. What I remember, at least, I haven't taken it in years, but like, no, you got caught being neoconservative. Let me screenshot that. No, not gonna let that happen. Not gonna let you are the autism spectrum test. Now that's a test I will take. So there's our dilemma, folks. We can either take the autism spectrum test, or we can just read chats and super chats for the rest of the night. It's up to you. But we're not doing another political test. I'm done with it. We just did it for like an hour and a half. I'm not doing another political test. I'm not. But if we want, we can take the autism spectrum test. I'm fine with that. Okay. I'm fine with that. So Vince is coping. I got right wing. Again, I haven't taken it in years. I just remember that the ideology matching is just not good. It's just not good. So let's see. We know how autistic we all already are, LMAO. I know it's a joke. I really don't think I medically meet the definition of autistic. I think I probably maybe growing up I might have. I was very antisocial kind of growing up, but I've changed. I've evolved. I've kicked autism. It's true. Well, let's see. BuzzFeed autism test. Matt says, I heard, how was Phoenix? I heard you met Kevin. I did meet Kevin. Kevin, however, let me just say, Kevin transformed over the course of that weekend. Okay, like he entered, the Kevin Lupo we all know. He's like Kevin 2.0 now. I don't know what happened. Just that weekend, he just increasingly evolved into being a Chad. He's no longer Kevin Lupo with an L. He's Kevin Whoopo with a W. It's true. Like he entered a different man than he left. Okay, and so I have to say now that I actually respect him. Okay, I respect the new Kevin. The new Kevin is different from the old Kevin. It's true. He's Kevin 2.0. It's true. He's Kevin 2.0. All right. All right. Let's see. We want to do this autism spectrum test. Let's do the autism spectrum test. I don't think I am, folks. Okay. I am autistic in the satirical sense, not the unironic sense. I don't know what I just agreed to. 50 questions. Are you serious? Okay, let's speed through this. I rarely experience happiness or joy. I disagree with that. I get obsessed with strings. Actually, I actually do. I kind of do. Um, and I think my fan base is very autistic then because we all know they are very obsessed with the dates. They're very obsessed with the dates. Noah Boyd says the test gave you neocon because that's what you were. And not even that true. Not even that true. It's just a bad test. I usually feel unhappy more days than not. I disagree with that. I've been very white pilled recently, folks. I've been having a good time. All right. I have a tendency to yell at people when I feel frustrated or stressed. Uh no, I yell, but I kind of just yell in the air. I don't really yell like at people. So I disagree with that. I find it difficult to make decisions or act without guidance from others. I mean, I think everyone does to an extent, but generally, not really. Even when I'm paying attention in conversation, I necessarily do not. True. That's true. Some of the times, expressions like raining cats, no, they're not confusing to me. Others have told me my mom, I guess. I mean, I'm not like a super angry person, but some. All right, I am often beset by feelings of sadness. Nah, not really. I do not like going to loud places like malls, markets, and amusement parks. Not because they are loud necessarily. Not necessarily because they are loud. I guess I'll slightly agree, I guess, but not because they are loud. I get temper tantrums when others cannot reach me. I do get temper tantrums. But they're like, I know what I'm doing. I'm in control. Okay, I feel irritated and angry when I have to navigate uncertain situations. Isn't that everyone though? Isn't that like is that like an autistic tendency? I don't know. I don't know. Being away from home for extended periods of time frightens me. Disagreed. You guys know I'm a traveling man. You guys remember in high school how much I'd like travel across the country? I got up. I like moved. Actually, it is true now because I do miss home, which is Florida. I hate it here. California sucks. I don't like it here. I am actually unironically homesick right now. But generally speaking, no. I am rarely worried about anything. Is that true of anyone? Not really. I follow a set schedule closely and tend to avoid. This is so. Why is this 50 questions? Um, I'll be honest, my life is kind of chaotic in many ways, so that's not really necessarily the case. Um, let's see. I dislike talking to people I don't know. Is yes, but I think that's true of everyone. But honestly, I will say I'm probably better at socializing than a lot of people are in those situations. So I don't know. But when I have a conversation with someone, I prefer to look at the wall. Sometimes like not. Oh, I'm not like terrible with eye contact, but that is kind of true. I'm very sensitive to noise. Not really. I accumulate lots of facts and subjects. Agree. Very true. When I'm watching movies, I do not usually look into the eyes of the actors. Neutral. I don't know. At parties and social gatherings, I'll usually stand in corners close to a wall. Um, for like the first 30 minutes, and then I'll start talking to people. So I guess agree, but not for like the whole party or social gathering. It's more like initially, but then I kind of get brave, and then I just will talk to everyone. So I don't know. I don't know. Let's just be pretend to be more autistic than we are for the meme. Why not? Um, when I get angry, I calm down faster than most people. Neutral. I don't know. I don't know. I've been described as having yes, very true, very true. My posture is like very weird and frankly not even that good. When I see a balloon, I worry that it might pop. Not really. I prefer to do things on my own. Rather, very true, very true. I often bump into things. Very true. Very true. Honestly, it is hard for me to sit still without tapping or fidgeting. Actually true. Actually true. I have a tendency. I always like tap my feet or I fidget somehow, but like I never sit fully still. Do social situations make me anxious? Yes, but I don't know if more than like most people. I think that's normal. I am always in a neutral, same neutral or flat mood. Disagree with that. I definitely have like moods. I sometimes have compulsive thoughts about being injured. Agree. I actually do. Yeah. I have certain routines or habits that I feel I must follow, and to some degree, yeah. As a child, I put most of the pressure on my front of my feet. I don't think so. Um, People have told me I make repetitive or strange. Not really. Neutral. Others have told me I speak like a robot. I don't think anyone's really ever said that to me. Untrue. I have trouble understanding what people mean when they feel the same when they say they feel happy for someone else. No, that's not true at all. People sometimes tell me that I'm being rude in conversation. Yes, I agree. Actually, very true. And also, I have what people call a resting bitch face. Okay, so where I just always look angry or upset when I'm not. I've never been good at sports. Disagree. Untrue. I have a tendency to hit or destroy things when I'm angry or stressed. I think most guys do, but like it's I don't know more than others, but true. It is stressful for me to have to retain eye contact with others. I don't know if it's stressful, so I'll stay neutral. But I'm not that good at eye contact, if I'm being honest. People have told me I can be obsessed about my interests. Very true. Others have told me I have repetitive bodily movements. Not, I don't know, neutral. I talk to my friends at a party the same way I talk to my coworkers. Uh, Actually, kind of, yeah, because sometimes it's just like small talk. It's like stupid small talk, even though you know the person better than that. So I'll say true. I rock myself with or fiddle with my hands to feel better. True, true. I do like rocking my chair a lot. I generally avoid eye contact, neutral. Sometimes I'm not terrible about it, but I'm not great about it. I almost always carry some special object in my purse or wallet that provides me with a sense of no, no, I don't have like a device like that. I hate the sound. No, disagree. Untrue. I enjoy parties. Generally, like, not. I'm not like yeah, it's not somebody non-autistic. Like I'm fine with them. I can like have a good time in those situations. It's not like I'm not like terrible at that. I cannot stand certain sounds, such as those made by vacuum, drums, or busy traffic. There are certain sounds I can't stand, but they are none of these. Actually, no, I hate the sound of vacuums. That's true. Um, as a child, I would often repeat words or phrases. Yes, but not like in an autistic tendency. It's more like I would hear a phrase that I really like and kind of like use it for myself, like a catchphrase or whatever. But I guess I agree with that. Others say I speak too loudly or softly. Very true. I'm never in between. Very true. All right, let's see where I am. Am I autistic? Let's see. Let's see. Results. I don't know. Oh, moderate. I'm moderately autistic. Okay, there you go. I'm moderately autistic, folks. VinceDao, screenshot it, take it to the bank. Your autism symptoms are moderate. So I'm not super autistic, but I'm a little bit autistic. All right, I'm a little bit autistic. Let's see. I don't know how to read this stuff. Let's see. I have a lot of fixations, social difficulties, kind of mid, abnormal posture, poor eye contact, fidgets are pretty high, aggression, depression, basically none. Okay, let's see. Um, but I have moderate autism, or at least moderate autistic symptoms. All right. All right, folks. Vince that okay, so now at least I have some grounds by which to be called autistic. Um that's true. All right, with that said, we'll read chat, folks. We'll read chat. We just completed the autism test. I'm not taking another political MFR is like, dude, take the test. No, no, no. We'll do it another time, okay? We'll do it another time. I'm not taking another freaking political test right now. We've taken so many tests. I'm not taking another 60 question test. Deal with it. Deal with it. All right. But it is true. Can I tell you guys a very fun? So I remember one time I was doing the whole autism stick. Like I was just messing around about being autistic or whatever. Um, it was at a conversation at a BJ's, right? At the restaurant. The restaurant. Stop. Shut up. At the restaurant. And I was messing about it with some friends, and then I left and I look at it and I saw that an autism awareness page from my school had followed me. It was literally like my college, and it was like autism awareness. And I was like, what did they mean by this? Like, I was just talking about this, and then I get followed by autism awareness somehow. I don't even understand that. I don't know. I don't know. I got followed by Bishop Sycamore autism awareness. I was like, what the freak is going on here? All right, what is going on here? Yeah, I knew where your mind. It was the restaurant. It's a real restaurant, and it's not even like Hooters where it's a degenerate. No, it's just a restaurant. It's just a restaurant called BJ's. Okay, you people are just going. Now it's gonna be clipped. Now the Vince Dow out of context account's gonna go around like, no, shut up. You're cringe. All right. You're cringe. Paleo Nation says, on a serious note, should we condemn Kyle's Form Doors More Horse TikTok username? I mean, he had it when he was younger. I think we just shouldn't make just don't worry about it. I don't know. It's just not a big deal. It's kind of funny. It's kind of a joke, tongue in cheek. I mean, it's just like whatever. Just whatever. It's not. I don't know if we should go out and say condemn it necessarily or not condemn it. Just whatever. Matt says BJ's are the best. Okay, listen here, buddy. You're not funny. I was talking about the restaurant. All right. The Roman Catholic Church should canonize Bishop Sycamore as a saint one day. I don't even know who Bishop Sycamore is. I just know that that's the name of the school that I go to. Yeah, that I definitely go to for like real, seriously. Let's see. Bishop Sycamore football is the best. Okay, D1 SEC tier. It's just so true. It's so true. They will not allow Bishop Sycamore into the SEC because they fear us. They fear our schools. Okay, they fear our D1 football team. Advent Style, if we get 100,000 of America's greatest cultural warriors and Chads to form a cult and build towns in rural Texas isolated from society and have loads of kids, would that be epic? You don't need to form a cult. Okay, no Eden's Gate or whatever. We are just Christian. That's it. Okay, there's no need to form a cult. But the rest of the idea is unironically based, and we should do it. We should do it. American Creationist asked a question that I've been in high school before. Imagine thinking I would. Now, I know I've fallen for baits a few times, but that's just so easy. Imagine thinking I don't know what that is. Imagine thinking I don't know what that is. All right. No, I'm not giving that chat the time of day. It's not true. Like you thought you thought I was gonna fall for that? Really? That's actually kind of the thought that I would have fallen for that is kind of insulting because it's just an insult to my intelligence. All right, it really is. All right, heat waves are going on, boys. Advent Style, when are you going to have your morality drones existing? Listen, okay. If you make the drones my drones, they're not going to work, okay? Because we know the record of Vince Dow with technology. Literally, if I have drones, they're just all going to crash. They're just all going to break, and like they're going to do nothing. They're going to do nothing. So honestly, I think we shouldn't even try. We shouldn't even try to invest in that because we know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. It's going to be like, I am searching for people having premarital. Done. And all the adulterers will just be like, ha 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 ha, another L for Dow Incorporated. Ha ha ha. Okay, now time to sleep with each other. It's just not gonna work. My morality drones are not gonna work. Okay, they're just gonna break. They are, and because I spoke them into existence, because they are my idea. Anyone else who tries to build the drones, they're just not going to work either. They're not going to work either. So honestly, I have to say the drones themselves are probably a psyop. It's probably like controlled opposition, to be honest. And it's for that reason. Okay, that's for that reason. Um, Cavemen didn't use drones. That is true. That is true. I feel like in many ways the idea of a morality drone is like it's kind of like a cringe technocrat version of what we believe, and so maybe it shouldn't be a thing. Maybe it shouldn't be a thing. Maybe I should get heat wave sometime. Might go well with my. I don't know what that is, but yes, we should every APU Chad needs heat waves. Okay, we are different. They are cheaper than Pit Vipers, and they are better than Pit Vipers. Okay, so I'm not against Pit Vipers. I have them too, but the heat waves, these are our symbol. Okay, these are our symbol. It's true. Let's see. Vince Dow, why is your favorite LARP? I think you mean what is my favorite LARP? I don't know. I guess you could say my favorite LARP is like, you know, country stuff, like wanting to like live in like on like a big rural property. But I don't know if that's a LARP because I actually like want to do that, right? I actually like want to like raise a family like that. So I don't know. Maybe my favorite LARP is like, I don't know, Crusaders or something. Like I don't know. It's just I don't really like to LARP. Like I don't LARP. Like I try to like just have things I genuinely believe and things that I don't. Noah Boyd says, Vince, you should move to Silicon Valley. No, you should move to Silicon Valley. Moving to Silicon Valley contradicts everything we talk about on this channel. Have you not been watching any of the streams all year? We ain't moving to Silicon Valley. Oh, we got Sadie Eargood in the chat. I have not talked to her in years. What's up, Sadie? Hello, Sadie. Vince, now are you Ho Chi Minh? This is a psyop. I'm not Ho Chi Minh. I am Ho Chi Dao. Okay, I'm my own person. It's true. All right. Off prim Vince, so true, real, very real. All right. LARPing nationalism. No, LARPing is cringe. Stop LARPing. All right. LARPing is cringe. Truly living and believing things is based. Okay. LARPing is probably the worst, the worst like aspect our movement has. It's just a bunch of LARPers. Whether that's the I'm a trad wife, I want to repeal the 19th Amendment and cook for my man. Shut up. Okay? Those are probably the worst. Trad wife LARPers are the worst, are like the worst ones there are. It's like, first of all, a real traditional woman. I'm not going to say trad wife. The term trad wife is a psyop. It's like you're trying to be traditional and you're shortening. You're like making like Zoomer lingo. Like, no. It's okay. But a truly traditional woman would not call themselves a trad wife or I'm based. I'm red pilled because they don't even know what that is. They don't even know what that means. Okay. The trad wife LARPers they're just the worst. They're just the worst. Okay. And like they're never actually traditional women either. I mean, you look at these. I mean, I've the things I have seen some of these people do too. It's just they're just the worst. Vince, you would sabotage tech by your presence. That is true. That is very true. Joyce Walker says, "What is a trad wife?" There we go. All right, there we go. Thank you. I'm not. Nobody say what it is. Nobody say what it is. Okay, because you don't need to know. You don't need to know. The trad wife LARPers dress sexy for the internet instead of their husbands. It's either that, sometimes also like the whole like modesty thing sometimes is a LARP too. Like modesty is good, obviously. Like we're not against modesty. We're totally for modesty. But modesty should not be a LARP. It's like, first of all, you have some trad wife LARPers that will wear like these pilgrim dresses. They'll just, you can tell it's a LARP because it looks like a costume on them, and you can tell it's a costume on them. Like they're basically cosplaying, right? It's not like they genuinely dress like that. It's like they're cosplaying as like an 18th century trad wife. And in real life, they don't dress like that. They just dress like normal American women, but it's like, it's a LARP for them. But it's very often, it's like, to me, it's also like a red flag when their modesty is like, I don't know if you want to say overly modest, but it's like they basically don't dress like real human beings. They dress like they're cosplaying of like 1700s women. That's usually a red flag. That usually means it's like I said, it's a LARP for them. Like you want a woman who just dresses modestly. They don't dress like Abigail Adams or something, because real women nowadays don't dress like that. They just dress modestly. They just don't show a bunch of skin. You know, they just wear things that are modest. You know that's like the type of woman ideally that like you ought to look for. Not like, oh, they wear a veil in on Instagram. They wear a flower dress that covers their arms. I'm in love with this woman. No, she's a LARPer, dude. She's a LARPer. And all like the trad wife, the modest, like it's all a LARP. And especially, I don't understand also what is so modest about constantly going around parading and telling everyone how modest you are and flexing the fact that you're modest and flexing your trad wife dresses on everyone else. Like that is inherently immodest. Like part of being modest is basically just like you're just not displaying everything off a rooftop. You just part of being modest is also just like being modest, like just not like projecting kind of your modesty or whatever to the world. That's inherently immodest. So that's all to say. That's all to say. You know, you do your best to find yourself a woman who is like a real, like, just generally traditional woman. You don't need to don't If she LARPs on the internet, that's a huge red flag. And she's probably not all that traditional of a woman. She's LARPing, she's cosplaying, she's putting on a character. And just don't do it. Just don't do it. Exactly. Pride versus humility. It's true. It's true. It's very true. All right. Modest soul will have modest dressing. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree. Again, don't date a girl who, if she dresses like a slut, that's equally a red flag. It's probably more of a red flag even. But I think you find the one that's just like, like the one where they're modest without really trying that hard to be modest, right? Because it's like if you go order some like pilgrim woman costume off the internet, like you're intentionally trying. And the fact that you are like trying and seeking to be modest already is kind of like a red flag. Like you should just be someone who naturally, instinctively doesn't really know much about this whole like trad wife culture or whatever, just instinctively dresses modestly because they just think that's how they should dress. That is the type of woman you want. Not like a trad wife Sarah on the internet, who's probably a fed, and even if she's not, she's just a LARPer. She's just a LARPer. Um, it's very true. Raymond Cave says, "Bro, I just came back from running an errand, and we're just talking about autism. What? So true, so true." Kenneth Butler says, Vince has done a thorough debunking of trad wife LARPers, continues to be Omega based as always. I try my best. I really do try my best. You know, I do. I do. It's like, I think you do need a woman who's like, realistically speaking, because of the fact that mainstream society is so insanely degenerate and anti-God, whatever, inherently the right woman is going to have to be someone who's somewhat politically conservative and knows that she is, just because like she has to be somewhat like away from whatever mainstream society is teaching. But like I think that ought to be it, Christian, somewhat like politically conservative. If you really go like further than that, they're all immersed in this dissident right, paleocon trad wife culture. It's just a red flag. That's just how you end up with LARPing. You know what I mean? That's how you end up with LARPing. Noah Boyd says base denim skirts. I'm fine with denim skirts, I guess. I don't know if I'd call them based. I feel like traditional, like normal cloth skirts might be better than denim skirts, but denim skirts are fine. Denim skirts are fine. Okay. Let's see. Daniel Chang says Vince is Italian. True. Italians are Romans. True. Vince is Roman. Vince should take back his empire and rule it as Augustus. It's so true. It's so true. And who says it's not going to happen? Who says it's not going to happen? I will be the next Caesar. I will be Kaiser Augustus. It is true. It is true. Um. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. What else we got? American creationist is Sarah. I was not talking about Sarah Gonzalez. No, I unironically was not. There is another figure in the movement who that strongly applies to, but I promise it wasn't Sarah. It actually was not Sarah. You know, I don't know much about her. I don't think she like LARPs as a trad wife. I don't think she does. There's someone else who does though. Okay, and this character, I'm not gonna say who it is. Maybe you can deduce. This is someone who on this constantly tweets about. I witnessed this happen. Okay, this is someone who constantly tweets about repealing the 19th Amendment and wanting to like cook meals for her man and stuff like that and have children. And she like LARPs as a trad wife. You meet her in real life, and she's like talking about hooking up with married men. Okay, not with men, with married men. And she's she at least tries to pretend to LARP as a trad wife on the internet. Really? Is that trad? Is it traditional to like have just like ruin marriages? Really? Really? That makes you based? Gosh. My gosh. I'm not gonna say who it was, but that's your hint is that they're kind of like a LARPer on the internet about like repealing the 19th Amendment and stuff like that. That's your hint. That's your hint. You can figure out the rest. If I won $200 million, I'd give away 1 million of it to Vinny. So true. So true. I appreciate that. Imagine what we could do with $1 million. Imagine what we could do with it. So true. It's not Tommy Lahren. It's not. I mean, I guess it could apply to Tommy Lahren. It's not Tommy Lahren. It's not Tommy Lahren. All right. Populous Texan says, Vince, why did you choose to move to Florida instead of Texas? Because that's where I go to school. And you know, in terms of like dealing with mandates and stuff at school, I trusted DeSantis more than Abbott in terms of that stuff, in terms of like, you know, protecting our student rights at like a school in that state, which I was correct about. But that's where I go to. But I will say, I honestly do like Florida over Texas. Okay, I know he's populist Texan. He's gonna get mad, but you know, I have to say, having experienced both, I am kind of I am a Florida nationalist. It's true. I do prefer our state. Not I might live in Texas one day because I know that's where a lot of media and stuff is. And I'm not against Texas, but honestly, I have to say I do prefer Florida more. I do prefer it more here. 1 million could really be. It's so true. Give us $1 million, we would just be like, we would be so powerful. You don't even know. You don't even know like what we could do with $1 million. Also, Don Huffings is awesome. He's very awesome, but is he the governor? At least right now, not quite. Not quite. Luis says my Oh, we just had an incident. Well, my university in Florida literally is like legally barred from enforcing the mask by the state of Florida. So, you know, it's true. Sam Matson says Vince ruined Texas. You ruined Texas. You ruined Texas. It's untrue. And I saw early, I think Sam was saying, Vince, what happened on 12/25? I'll tell you what happened. The birth of Jesus Christ happened. The birth of our Savior happened. That's what happened on 12/25. All right. I didn't do anything. All I did was pray that day. Okay. That's all I did. All right. But you know, God did 12/25. It's true. God did 12/25. Sam's mom ruined Texas. True. Your mom ruined Texas. It's true. It's true. All right. All right. We're going to wrap up the stream soon. So you want to send in any last chats, any last super chats, do it soon. Get it in the next like 5 to 10 minutes. All right, folks. Daniel Chang says, are the Romans prior to Constantine cringe for persecuting the Christians? Of course they were cringe for that. They were. I think there's still a lot of things that just like in terms of building strong societies you can learn from ancient Rome. But yeah, of course they were cringe for that. Of course they were cringe for that. Although I think in some ways that's kind of the way God intended it to happen, you know. Well, of course it is the way God intended it to happen. That's the way God intends everything to happen, but it's like, you know, I think there's a reason why Jesus was, you know, born in a manger, right? They wouldn't even take him in at the inn, you know. this is actually, I was talking about this because it's like, you know, I was talking with kind of like this person who's kind of trying to come to Christ because of, the paleocon culture or whatever. And they were just like, yeah, I like crusades and like beautiful Catholic churches and all that. It's like, yeah, we do like that stuff. But like, I think Christianity, the original source of Christianity is not something that, it's not like gold laden cool emperors or whatever like that. You know, Jesus was born in a manger, he was, because no one would take the Son of God was born into the world, and they would not even take him in at the end. Okay, they wouldn't even take him in. He was basically like born outside, That's how it started, you know he was basically in poverty his whole life. He worked as a carpenter. You know, him and his disciples, they did not travel around like Mansa Musa with a bunch of gold and luxurious things. They lived bare bones. You know, they barely had they just basically scrapped by for food to eat and the shelter under their heads. That was how the Son of God lived in this world. And he was persecuted. You know, they killed him. And they didn't just kill him, they killed him in like one of the most painful, gruesome, barbaric ways there was. People forget they didn't just crucify him, they also like flogged him, right? And so how they used to do it in ancient Rome is they didn't just like whip him. They'd put like spikes, right? They put spikes on the whip. And when the whip like hit you, the spikes would like, jar into the skin. Okay. And they did that for every inch of his body. Okay. Imagine the excruciating pain of that. Okay. And they humiliated him, right? They basically they stripped him naked. That's what happened. They stripped him naked. They flogged every inch of his body. They literally nailed him to wood through his hands. They crucified him. Okay. And that's our religion. That's where he came. That's where it all started. The early Christians were fed to they were kind of this poor in many. It's kind of like this poor street preacher here, you know, and they were fed to lions. Okay, they were fed to lions. They themselves were crucified. They were killed. They were hunted. I forgot where I was going with this, but it's all to say that I think it's important to understand the kind of the humble nature of where our religion comes from. That's true. And I think there's nothing wrong with having strength as Christians either. Of course, I think it's a great thing that over time, we came to build Western civilization. Strong societies, things like this. We got to the point where we really can defend ourselves and whatnot. But that's not what Christianity is about. And if you can only kind of feel God's presence, through like boastful, luxurious gold and whatnot, and like, all the strength and whatnot, and like, just you only feel God when you feel like you're LARPing as a crusader, or you have like, a church with like a bunch of gold all over it. How strong really is your faith? Like, do you really worship? Do you really worship the true God, or do you just kind of worship the idea of like strength or whatever? Something to consider, right? Something to think about. Christianity, unlike Islam, which is heresy, spread slowly over time, unlike Islam's barbaric conquest. Oh, very true, very true. And people like all religions are violent. People use all religions to justify violence. I mean, it is true. Yes, all people of all sorts will use any religion to justify violence, but to pretend like Christianity and Islam just come from like the same place, like we're just the kind of like the prophet of our religion is the Son of God, but also he was a peaceful person. Literally, his followers were trying to strike down heretics, and what does he tell them? He says, you don't know what's in your heart. You know what I mean? You know not what is in your heart. You have something carnal in your heart, and he tells them not to do that. He accepted it. He actually accepted it, when he was going to be crucified. He did not try to resist whatever. Okay. And I'm just explaining the nature of our religion. Muhammad literally like raped and pillaged openly. He literally led conquest himself. So people want to talk about, well, all religions are equally violent. Christianity is the violent religion. Really? Really? Have you seen where Islam comes from? Have you seen who the prophet in Islam is versus the prophet of Christianity? Like Mr. Atheist, really? Tell me, but of course you hate Christianity way more than you hate Islam because Christianity is the religion of the West. It is the religion that built our civilization. You hate our civilization, therefore you're going to try to shut it down. But if you're being honest with yourself, it doesn't you can kind of see the difference there. I heard that the actor for Passion of Christ was accidentally hit with one of the strings of the cat o' nine tail whip, and he said he almost fainted. Yeah, very true. And imagine how Christ must have felt then. I know, true, very true. They hate Christianity because it is the one true religion. So true, so true. We should evangelize all the world and re-evangelize lost Christian lands. Agreed. That's kind of actually our duty, right? We're supposed to make disciples of all nations. True. GB says people call Christianity violent because of what God and Israel did in the Old Testament, and then the Crusades. It's just not not true though. Still, like first of all, the Crusades were literally a reclamation, and people always talk about stolen land and then get mad at the Crusades. First of all, and second of all of the violence, quote unquote, committed by God, quote unquote, in the Old Testament was justified because He is God. All right. Ali says, I just converted to Christianity because I was tired of the lies of Islam. Based. Welcome to the family. All right. I'm getting so hungry, boys. Your boy needs dinner here. But we're going a little bit further. All right. We're going to continue going. It is not Lauren Southern. No, it's not Lauren Southern, who I was talking about earlier. Marxist Dixie says Russia is the successor of the Romans. Everyone thinks they're the successor of, I don't know. I've not decided who yet is the successor of the Romans. But if they are, the Romanovs, well, the Soviet Union kind of ruined that. I don't mind calling Vladimir Putin the successor of the Romans because that's kind of funny and that's kind of epic, but it's not really accurate, right? Vince did Watergate. Untrue. Dinner at 11. No, I'm in California right now, folks. People forget this. Like I said, we have the fake set, right? This is the Hollywood representation of the studio at home. We have a Florida flag next to a green screen. I feel like it's a good metaphor. Well, let's see. Let's see here, folks. I'm so hungry though. I'm unironically so hungry. Vince Dao. There you go. Now you have the correct answer. Vince Dao is the true successor of the Romans. Exactly. It's true. Screenshot this. Someone screenshot this right now. It's so true. That is me. Vince psyop us into thinking he's in Florida. I never psyoped you. I told you I'm in California. Nobody listens. I'm in California, clearly. Okay, look at this, folks. I have a webcam, by the way, now, so it's a little bit better. But it's sideways though, so it don't look right. But yes, we have a Hollywood version of the original Vince Dao studio. I feel like it's a good metaphor. I feel like it's actually a creative metaphor. It's like, it's Hollywood. It's the Hollywood edition. It's fake. It has a green screen. But it's true. All right. 2 more minutes. And then we're going to end the stream. Okay. So let's see. Asian food only fills you up for 30 minutes. Largely true, but I don't eat Asian food all the time. I don't eat a lot of Asian food. Now, I do have good taste in Asian food. I do appreciate Asian food, but it is not the daily cuisine. Okay? Jesus greater than Muhammad. Facts. Well, Jesus is greater than like all of mankind. put together. But yes, very true. So facts. The Soviet Union was a continuation of the Russian nation. Unless Russia ceases to exist, then Russia is. Well, I don't know if I agree with this assessment, because then, I mean, then why is that not true of Italy, right? Now, why is not true of Italy or Germany or whatever else, you know? I think there is something to be said about the actual lineage, the actual heritage, the actual people who rule it, right? You know, so I don't know if that's accurate, because you could, if that's the case, then why is it not true of Italy, right? Well, it's not true of Italy or Turkey or whatever else, you know? Vince is American like the rest of us. He doesn't primarily. So true. So true. So true. I'm a Dixie boy. I eat grits. I eat fried chicken just like you. I'm just like you. You know, I'm a Dixie boy just like you. True. Real. Actually true. Vince, now we should be like Byzantine Eastern Roman Empire and be like, screw philosophy because we made too much. Now Christian theology is the cool. So true. So true. Philosophy is very overrated. Okay. The only philosophy you need, is Christ. That's the only philosophy you need. So true. All right, guys. With that being said, I'm going to wrap up the stream tonight. Like I said, this is a final stream of 20. I will have videos out, like put 1 or 2 videos out before the end of 2021. But final stream of 2021. The next time I see you, I'll be back in Florida. We'll be back home. We'll be back at the real VinceDao studio. But I just wanted to say, thank you very much for a great year. Thank you very much who tuned into these streams and whatnot throughout the year. We had a very good time. We'll be back in 2020. We'll be back in 2022. So true. You know, maybe we can do, you know, I know I said this, maybe we could do a stream on like Friday. Is Friday New Year's Eve? It is New Year's Eve. Okay, never mind. We can't do a stream on a Friday then. But okay, so it'll definitely be the last stream before the new year. But I appreciate it very much. Appreciate all the support. We will be back. We will expand the community. We'll get to 20K next year. It'll be epic. It'll be based. But until then, guys, see you guys later. Have a good new year. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. God bless. Thank you for the support. And I'll see you guys later. All right. I'll see you guys next. Well, I have videos out, but on live. I'll see you guys next year. Have a good rest of your year. Stay safe. Very epic. See you guys later.
In leaving it, I do so with this prayer. May God's grace be with you in all the days ahead.
He is a globalist, and we are nationalists. He believes in some Pax Universalis. We believe in the old republic. He would put America's wealth and power at the service of some vague new world order. We will put America first. So today we call for a new patriotism, where Americans begin to put the needs of Americans first. For a new nationalism, where in every negotiation, be it arms control or trade, the American side seeks advantage and victory for the United States. And the people of this country need to recapture our capital city of Washington from lobbyists and registered agents of foreign powers who are hired to look out for everybody and everything except the national interest of the United States. And our Western heritage is going to be handed down to future generations and not dumped onto some landfill called multiculturalism.